Hi dolls, welcome back to my channel. My name is Nomti, and of course welcome back to the Makeup Starter Kit for Beginners series. This is part 2, honey, and in this video I'm going to show you how to do your foundation. I'm going to show you how to do your primer, your concealer. I'm going to give you the tips and the tricks, honey. In case you haven't seen my previous upload, please make sure to check my description box for that part, and of course don't forget to like, comment, share, and most importantly subscribe, honey, to my channel. Let's get into it. I'm now going to do my face and run you through the products that I think you should definitely look out for and get as a beginner in makeup, right? So first things first, I've already moisturized my face, so that's happy. And then for primer, so number one, honey, so primer. For primer today, I'm going to apply this Wet n Wild matte face primer. Another very good one is the Maybelline New Baby. It comes in sort of like a little blue, is it blue, is it green, little tube. I will link down everything in the description box, so don't you worry, honey. And that one is also a very good primer. Why we prime our face is so that we can try to minimize as much texture and help the foundation do what we need it to do. For example, I actually have quite oily skin, so I like mattifying primers because they matte me down so that I'm not as shiny when my foundation is on. If your skin has texture, meaning maybe you have large pores or you have a couple of acne scars, pimples, whatever, your primer helps in soothing, it's like smoothing out your skin and sort of like acting as like a base cover before you put on your foundation. So with this one, this is as much as I use because I actually don't use it all over my face because I'm not oily all over my face. I'm oily in these areas that you will see me try to put it on, right? This is where I get oily, right? So also with your primer, you want to try to, this is how I apply my primer, right? I try to pat it into the skin and let it dry. Even here, I just sort of like apply, pat in, apply and pat in. I also do have like enlarged pores, and then mostly around my nose, very oily. And then just around my face, I'll just run, yeah. But those are my problem areas, right? But there's nothing wrong with just applying it all over your face. So for primer, that's what I would suggest. I would suggest Wet n Wild, the Maybelline, and LA Girl and Essence also have very good primers, so I'd also look at those. They're all under 100 Rand. But again, if you are a beginner and you're like, hey, this is confusing me, don't put it down, girl. It's okay. So for foundation, I would suggest, and this is my everyday foundation that I use all the time. If you follow me on Instagram, you're probably like, this is the only foundation this girl uses, but I swear, like, I swear by it. I would suggest the Revlon Candid Foundation. It has a very good range in terms of shades. It's very affordable. It's less than 200 Rand, and this tube, my dear, will last you a very long time. And I also love this foundation because it has a pump, so you don't have to worry about wasting your foundation. My problem with foundations that don't have a pump or an applicator is that if it's just an open bottle, sometimes when you pour it onto your brush or onto your hand or into your whatever, literally mistakes happen all the time. Your foundation is just like bleh, all out, literally. So this one I really like because affordable, great foundation, and also just blends out so well. So I'm going to be using the foundation brush, and what I like to do is just, I get 2 pumps on there. A little goes a long way, hey? With foundation, I would suggest you build up to it. So don't put a whole lot of foundation on here and then it's just a mess when you're trying to work it all over your face. You'd rather do it a pump at a time or half a pump at a time. That's also fine. So what I like to do is that before I start doing everything all over my face is that I just like to get it all over my face like so, right? The reason why I'm doing half a face is that I wanted to also show you that, like I said, if you do not get a foundation brush, what you can do this is how you would apply your foundation to your face if you're gonna just go straight in and use your beauty blender. I do use a beauty blender even though I've used the brush, I'll be honest with you, because the beauty blender, like I said, gives you that nice flawless finish, right? So if you're not gonna go for the foundation brush, this is all you do. Get your foundation, child, and put it all over your face, dot it all over your face, and you take your beauty blender and you start blending it out. However, I'm gonna just go in with the stick. I mean, not the stick. What am I saying? I'm gonna go in with, you know, the brush. Now I'm going to grab my beauty blender, and like I said, I'm going to just help soothe out, because as you can see, there are some harsh lines sometimes that do appear because of the brush, right? So I like to just grab my beauty blender and then just go all over my face again. Like I said, make sure that your beauty blender is nice and damp. Damp meaning you ran it under water, you wrung out the water, and right now there should be no water coming out when you're squeezing it out. That's damp, right? And the best way to also understand damp is that it will be enlarged. It doesn't come in this size when it is dry. So this just helps us. This just helps us blend out the product. I also prefer a beauty blender close to the hairline so that you can I obviously put on a wig today because my hair needs doing. Well, I need to figure out my hair. And make sure when you apply foundation, I like to make sure that I apply foundation also to my eyes, because usually our eyelids are not the same shade as the rest of our face, right? Just like sometimes if you have bags under your eyes, like if you have a little bit discoloration, so it's always good to make sure that your foundation, you blend all over your face, guys. And also, please, most importantly, down your neck. Please do not scare people in the streets, guys. You cannot have foundation here and be a flawless foundation, sort of like shade here and just great look, and then this part of your neck is usually not the same shade as your face. So just try to blend it in, and blend in as far as you can so that it just looks natural to your face. So bring down that foundation and bring it all the way till here. Okay, till here. This is from here. This is where, you know, on your ears as well. You can do this with your beauty blender because it'll have a bit of product left from you blending your face. If your neck is showing you flames, because you know, like it happens for different reasons, then do not be afraid to bring it down all to the way here. Just blend it in. Let me maybe describe it that way. You blend your foundation into your neck, you know, into your neck. Remember that. Okay. For concealer, so concealer I like to actually describe as an optional for beginners, right? Like I said to you, the best one for me is by far the LA Girl for concealing underneath my eyes, because I do have a little bit of, you know, discoloration, some black bags from sleeping well, and concealer helps us brighten our face. And how you brighten your face is that you need your under eyes nice and bright, your forehead, the bridge of your nose right here, your upper lip and your chin. Those areas just help just bring out a brightness into your face, and that's why you conceal, right? And also it's just very helpful for, like I said, if you have some black, if you know you're a bit dark under your eyes, to use medium beige. Like I said, if you feel like concealer is doing too much for you, child, then don't do the concealer as yet. You can get to this later. Again, also there's like a whole multitude of like concealers that you can try out there from all the makeup brands, honey. I'm still just in love with the LA Girl. I have tried others, and we shall see later on if I get any of that. So for concealer, you're not gonna apply a lot underneath your eyes. Don't do that to yourself. Don't ever do that to yourself. You don't want it to look You don't want it to be a mess when you blend it, number one. And number two, you're also not trying to all of a sudden go all completely ghost looking like, because it's so easy to look ghost like. So with concealer, you go for a shade or two lighter than your foundation. So my foundation, I am in the shade Caramel 440, and then for concealing, I'm using this LA Gale medium beige, and as you can see, it's way lighter. It's about 2 shades lighter actually than my foundation shade. For the bridge of your nose, also don't go too ham. I like to just do it like that, do it in threes. You can do it however how, right? Even on the forehead, I don't like to do a lot. And then you try not to blend out your concealer immediately after you've applied it. Try not to blend it out immediately after you've applied it, because what that does is that, because while it's still nice and wet, it'll honestly just all go off on your beauty blender. You use a beauty blender to blend out the concealer, but like I said, you can actually also use a concealer brush, but I don't like how that turns out. I prefer a beauty blender. So like I said, you just like want to give it, you know, a couple of seconds or a minute or so, just to almost dry down, but not completely dry down. If you let your concealer completely dry down and you try to blend it out, you're going to see flames. I'm gonna be honest. It's gonna be very hard to work with. And as you have noticed, what we're doing is applying all the cream products first. That's how you also make sure that you are able to manage the products that you put on your face. You want to use all the cream products first, and then you go into the powders, right? That's why after the foundation, I didn't already put on powder onto my face, because I wanted to conceal. But if you're not going to conceal, then obviously you're going to skip the concealing and the setting the concealing part and go straight into just putting powder all over your face. So now that we've given this concealer some time, I'm just gonna blend it out. And now that we've blended out the concealer, you can already see that my face looks brighter, especially because, you know, right there, right there, right there, right there, right? It already looks brighter. It already looks like I'm awake. To set my concealer, because you have to set the concealer usually with, again, a shade very similar to the concealer or a little bit lighter. For beginners, I would actually recommend, because it's very easier to use, is the Yardley translucent powder. This is the one that I used before. It's also very drugstore, and it's suitable for all skin tones. So it's sort of like a pinkish, I don't know if you can see this, sort of like a pinkish shade. You also do find the one that's like a white shade, and I'm gonna be honest with you, a little goes a long way, so you don't want to apply a lot of this, but this helps set the concealer really, really, really nicely, right? And you can actually also use this as an all over your face powder, but you just have to be very careful in terms of your hand. Like, I hope you don't have a heavy hand, like how much you put on, because it's so white, right? Another favorite that I like to suggest to beginners is, but this is for more warm skin tones, so like if you're like my shade, a little bit darker and a little bit lighter, and way lighter, let me say, right? Is the banana powder. This one is from Makeup Revolution, and this one is also very good, but then this one is very yellow, so you have to be very careful about that as well, in terms of like how much of it that you use. So for the purposes of this video, I'm going to be using the yards. Grab your beauty blender again, put it in there, and then just dust it off at the back of your hand, like do one stamp, because you don't want a whole lot of it. So I don't bake. So baking is when you put a whole lot of powder where you've concealed, only to dust it off later. So I don't do that, because that's very drying to the skin. I don't find that works out for me. Like I said, you know, my powder, and then I'm just gonna pat in. As you can see, like I said, it's a very white powder. Pat in again. This just helps, like I said, the concealer to set. If you don't set the concealer, what tends to happen is that, because our skin is sort of like wrinkly at the bottom of your eyes, you'll get lines if you don't set the concealer, right? But like I said, if you're not going to do the concealing part as a beginner, then just also make sure the face powder that you use all over your face, you apply with the beauty blender, I would suggest. And all you'll do is just make sure that you apply it well underneath your eyes here again, like I said, because even your foundation can get those wrinkle lines with your foundation if you don't set it well. Right, and now let's move on to the face powder for our entire face, right? So this is to set your foundation. And the one that I like to gravitate towards, and which is a very great suggestion for beginners as well, not only price wise but also it's a very beautiful powder that is just easy to blend and just it does the work. It's the Maybelline Fit Me Powder. So this one is in the shade 350 Caramel, which is the same shade as my foundation in the Revlon. The nice thing about this one, why I really like it, is because I find that it blends very well with a whole number of foundations. I've used this with the Estee Lauder foundation, I've used it with the Clinique foundation, and it does the job. So let me just actually intersect here and just tell you that you don't have to use one brand in terms of makeup. So what I mean is that I feel like sometimes with beginners there's a misconception that if you're using a Revlon foundation, you need a Revlon face powder or setting spray or whatever. No, honey, these things, they have a way. It depends on the formula of the actual product itself. If the product is great quality, it should be able to blend with whatever, as long as you are using it correctly. As you can see, we're using powder products now, meaning we can't put anything that is a cream on our face right now, because it will literally look like I'm trying to find the description. Let me just say it won't blend well. It's like if you had a dry like patch of skin, right, and then you try to put moisturizer on it, it does that whole crusty cracking thing. I hope you get what I'm saying. But yeah, just make sure that if you're doing cream products, you do cream products only. Right now we're using powder products, we're only going to use powder now on our face. So you're going to grab that face brush that we spoke about to apply this powder, and this is how I like to do it, and just dust it off all over your face. And then you'll see how I'm applying it all over the face, avoiding where I have put on my concealer and the other setting brush. That's if you're doing this part, right, the concealer part. If you did not conceal your face and all you have on is foundation, then take this brush, take this powder, honey, put it all over your face wherever you have put on foundation. And like I mentioned before, you can still also use your blending brush, your blending sponge, to also put on powder. This also works just fine. Just be careful to be sure that it is damp and not wet, like I said. And that is it for this part, my darlings. Please be sure to come back for the next part, honey. And don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up. Don't forget to comment. Don't forget to share it. And don't forget to, of course, subscribe to my channel. Bye.